Welcome back to The Fish here on OOTP 26, and as you can see, folks, the Teal is back. I had been planning to bring back the Teal at some point this season. I wanted it to be like, hey, once this team starts getting good, then we'll be like, boom, Teal drops, vibes are high, the Fish are here, baby. But we were good sooner than I expected. So season 2, we're good, and now heading into season 3, boom, Teal is back, folks. Rocking the Teal caps here, not the black caps, the Teal caps as our regular home. Our aways, those are our aways. And then every home Friday game, we're gonna be rocking the black top alternates. And then on Sunday, get a little sleeve action going on Sunday home games. So those are the unis we'll be rocking from here on out in Miami. I do still have them named the Miami Marlins. I might change them to be the Florida Marlins, just go. Let's just do it. Let's just change them to be the Miami or the Florida Marlins right now because it just makes sense. I mean, it's gonna go with the logo. We want this to be FLA. And boom, we're still located in Miami, still playing the same field, but now the logo and the team name actually match up. So the Florida Marlins are back here, folks, and we are looking to embark on this offseason and head into the 2027 campaign and try to compete yet again here in the National League East Division. We have received our new budget from Bruce Sherman. We will have $204 million in total team expenses. That means our payroll should be at $180 million. I think that's probably around what it was last season. If we go to our front office here. It's basically the same. We had a $200 million budget last season. Now it's up to 204. As you can see, we don't right now have a lot of money to spend. We're spending up like basically as much as we possibly can right now. We should also probably like raise this to like, I don't know, 34. Just might as well. Coming off a good season, bump that up a bit. And now this will change because we are going to be, making some changes with stuff and as guys don't get arbitration or make some trades and whatnot, things will change. You can see we also have to replace a lot of our coaching staff. I was fully aware of that. And then the other thing we have is Alexis Diaz option year is definitely going to be declined. Sonny Gray's option year is also definitely going to be declined at $30 million. So that's going to be a big thing on our budget, on our total money available that I showed you. And then also Austin Hayes, we saw I think 2 episodes or whatever the recap episode was, that he actually did just barely not reach his vesting option statistical requirement, so he will not be auto-locked into a contract for us this upcoming season. We could still bring him back if we decide to, because he did perform quite well for us with the bat here in Miami, as I expected that to. With that 55 BABIP and the 65 gap power and our giant outfield, I just thought that his bat was going to play well. It did. Unfortunately, in the postseason, it did not play well. He just kind of slumped in the postseason, and then also the glove was not the greatest. It wasn't the worst, but also not good either. The arm was positive, but the glove itself, not so great. So Sonny Gray will not be back on this team next year. Only pitched 1 game for us. All-time Marlin, and then Alexis Diaz also voiding his last contract year. And then the only Marlin coaching staff that we have to replace is our third base coach. And you can see already the total money available and the money for extensions goes up. And that's even before we take a look at some of this arbitration numbers here. Because we have some guys who we're probably going to be looking to move on from. Guys like Anthony Bender, 31-year-old reliever, making $3 million. Probably somebody we're going to try to look to trade if we can. Ellis Peguero, I don't think he's going to be a guy we bring back. Maybe. Probably not, though. Maybe. Yeah, he has no options, but only 1.4 million. Yeah, we'll probably try to bring him back, honestly. Perdomo is definitely a guy who's not coming back. Yuri Perez obviously is going to come back. Manuel Rodriguez we would like to see back, but, if he has value, maybe we'll trade him. Alec Thomas is, I would say, a borderline player. I still like his profile of like a really decent contact bat with good gap power, good speed, and then they some good defense. I still like the idea of having this profile on our bench. So we'll probably, give him another year and just see how he works out in the system. But do I think he's ever going to be like a huge contributor for us? Probably not. And then if I'm totally honest, Braxton Garrett is somebody that we might look to trade. Coming off a decent season, 2-WAR year, slightly below average ERA plus, slightly above league average FIP minus, 4 ERA, 4 FIP. He had an okay season. Coming off Tommy John, he missed all of 2025, and then in 2026 put up this decent season. I just don't think he's worth $4.8 million. I think we can get that sort of production from any sort of arm that's cheaper or somebody in our system. Like, let's just take a look at our staff right now. So at the moment, I would say we have like a solid 3 guys. We know that Michael King is going to be a starter for us. We know that Sean Manaea and Ryan Weathers, those 3 core guys for us right now, are going to be starting pitchers. Yuri Perez, I think we should try to run back in the rotation. He could be like a super stopper for us again next season, or we could give him a run in the rotation. He has that 35 stamina now. Remember, he came just randomly in last offseason after missing a lot of 2025 with a torn UCL, coming back from Tommy John. Last offseason, he just randomly had a stamina drop from 40 to 35, and then mid-season it came back up to 35. His potential did go down. His velocity did go down just ever so slightly. But you can see here, as a starting pitcher, he still has the potential to get at the 65 stuff. He has this mix. He has the 50 control, possible 55. He's got good enough movement. And I just think it's, he's more valuable as a starting pitcher than he is a reliever. So Yuri Perez, we're probably going to give a chance in the rotation this year, at least to start, assuming that this 35 does not go down. But if worse comes to worst and we have to put him as a super stopper, I'm not opposed to that either, but I would like him to be a starter. So we're going to plan for him in the rotation. And then Braxton Garrett would be like in this mix as well. I'm not totally opposed to bringing him back for another year at 4.6, 4.8. We could probably get him for 4.6, 4.7. But also, I kind of want to give a shot to one of our prospect pitchers, or just somebody we have in the system, like Christian Scott. We could put him in as our 5th starter. Now, we would need some depth because, you need depth. Pitching injuries are going to happen. So we're going to need some guys who can start for us. But I feel like we have a decent amount of depth, if we put Christian Scott in this 5th starter spot. So let's just go ahead and pencil him in there. Then we've also got somebody maybe we bring back Michael Soroka. He had a decent year split between AA and AAA, and obviously he's 29, fragile. Who knows if he's actually good or not, but I would not be opposed to bringing him back for depth. He does have no options, though, so he might not be the best option to have as a depth player. We did pick up this Jack Perkins fella from the Oakland A's. They're not Oakland, folks. They're from Sacramento. You can see here, never really has put up great numbers, but these ratings are decent enough for me to possibly think he could give us some 5th starter depth option for us. We still have somebody like Sam Bachman, who I think could give us some depth starter options, although his stuff and his 3 pitches still have not developed for whatever reason. And he's coming off a good season in AAA, 22 starts in the Jacksonville rotation. We could even get crazy with it and have somebody like Cody Funderburk go in the rotation. What does his stuff go down to? It's still a 45. Cody Funderburk's got 35 stamina. If we get desperate and we need some depth innings at that 5th starter spot, Cody Funderburk, absolutely an option for us in that spot. Coming off a he was getting a lot of multi-inning opportunities in relief, so, not the craziest thing in the world to possibly get a little finesse lefty in there. Although his control is not exactly the greatest, what you would want from a finesse lefty. But we're talking about depth starting options here. We still have somebody like Brian Mendoza, who did go down quite a bit this past season. Remember, he had a decent-ish season for us in 2025 before tailing off towards the end. And then in 2026, just went down to AAA, was in their bullpen, really got unlucky with the ERA, it seems like, had a high BABIP. But the ratings did go down quite a bit as well, so maybe not the same type of player that we're looking at that we were in Season 1. Max Meyer still around. He could give us depth options. He does expect to be a starter. His current role as a starter. He's an option too. He could be the fifth starter instead of Scott. Scott could go to the bullpen. We'll have to see. Honestly, with how Scott performed in the bullpen compared to the rotation last year, I'd probably prefer Scott in the rotation than the bullpen, but we'll see how things go. So we still have Max Meyer, obviously. And then down in AAA right now, we've got some guys who could possibly give us some innings, like Ronnie Henriquez, who we will have to decide if we want to sign or not. Currently out of option years, not on the 40-man. So if we do bring him back, we'd have to put him back on the 40-man. And commit to him being on the Major League roster. Are we going to do that? Maybe, maybe not. Are we going to possibly trade Ronnie Henriquez and try to get like another sort of late 20s guy with options? Possibly. Jordan Balazovic is another one of these guys who we like, but we like as a starter and not a reliever. Because every time we've tried him in the bullpen, it's just gone terribly. But every time he goes in the rotation, he does pretty damn well. So... but he's another guy who also has no options and would need to be re-signed and put in the 40-man. So maybe not the smartest option as a depth piece for us, but we could possibly do something. This Mike Paredes guy we got from the Twins, just looking like he's really not going to be a great thing for us. If anything, it's going to be as a bullpen piece with the high movement, high control, but I don't think this guy is going to be a starter at any point in time. We could if we got super desperate, but I just don't think it's his best role. If Mr. Tucker Biven here didn't miss basically all of last season with some elbow surgery, then he might be in a position to possibly give us some innings in the big leagues this season if he didn't miss out on a whole year of development, but he did, so I don't think that he's going to be, at least not, an obvious guy. He could come back from his injury and just start shoving and work his way up to the AAA and just be, an option for us. But right now, not somebody we're really looking at. And then we've got some possible prospect pitchers that could be options for us depending on how they develop. Guys that are currently on loan in the Arizona Fall League. We've got AJ Russell, who was our first round compensation pick in 2025 at the University of Tennessee. You can see here, we've kind of taken it slow with him. He was an A ball, then last year he started in high A, was pretty good, then went to double A, kind of struggled a bit. Now he's in the draft league and or the developmental league, and he's kind of struggling there as well in 4 starts in relief. We've got Thomas White, who was in AAA for us this season, and if he didn't get hurt, he might have been an option for us at some point. He's currently the 62nd prospect, which is kind of crazy with the 45 potential. OSA thinks he's way better than our scout thinks. So, I'm inclined to trust my scout more than OSA, but I mean, OSA thinks he has a 60 stuff potential, 65 control, and my scout thinks he's not anything even remotely near that. So, and he hasn't really shown that at AAA. In AA, I would say maybe he's shown something like that, but not so much in AAA. He kind of struggled there a bit this year. 20 starts, kind of got rocked a bit. His home runs ticked up way, way high. His walks are still, kind of out of control, and his strikeout rate went way down. So his K- walk is just all of a sudden looking not great. But he is shoving in relief in the draft in the developmental league down there in Arizona, so that is good to see. We've also got somebody like Jacob Miller, who is kind of somebody who just came out of nowhere for me. I was not really aware of this guy when we started this. But he's just kind of steadily developed into a 40 overall, 45 potential player. Decent movement and control already. We do need these pitches and this stuff to develop before I start looking at him as an option for us. But he is, depending if he develops, a possible option. Currently in the Arizona Fall League with the Mesa Solar Sox. Noble Meyer is a guy who also is with the Mesa Solar Sox down in the Arizona Fall League. He spent this past year in AA Pensacola and was okay. He did walk a bit too many guys, but he was striking out a ton. I remember this was extreme. The developmental risk for him was extreme. I don't know how it's gone down to low. I don't really know what this entails, like what actual metric they're using to determine that. But Noble Meyer, if he develops, maybe he's an option. He's probably, with the 45 control, not ever going to be like an actual starter for us, but sure, a depth option. And the thing about all these guys I'm going over is they're all prospects that are maybe they're depth options if they develop. So I do think that if we go into the year with this as our rotation, King, Mania, Weathers, Perez, and Scott, with like Meyer as the immediate backup, and then somebody like Jack Perkins and Cody Funderburk as the immediate backups, we would need to possibly bring in like a AAA quality starting pitcher or two to add to the mix. And we could possibly do that just by, trading some of these arbitration guys who don't have options. Like maybe we can get somebody like that for Anthony Bender. Maybe even Peguero could get somebody with options because he's a decent pitcher. I mean, he looks like a really good pitcher, but the thing is he has no options. So would it be smarter for us to possibly trade this almost 30-year-old reliever who looks like he's good and probably has value for somebody with options who maybe could give us some starting potential with like a 35-plus stamina? That's something we could look into. And then also down in AAA, like I mentioned, we have somebody like Balazovic and Henriquez who we either could bring back or look to trade for guys with options. So don't really know if they're going to have value out there. Like let's just say we shop Henriquez around here and we just go all pitchers. Yeah, there's just nothing out there. Now, just as a reminder, I do currently have not stats and AI, I want to look at AI settings. We do currently have our trading difficulty cranked up all the way to hard, and then the trading preference towards veterans a bit. And then we've also changed around our player evaluation settings to 40, 30, 20, and 10. So Henriquez looking like more so a guy we either are going to have to non-tender or sign and bring back and commit to him being on the Major League roster. To where, let's just take a look at the staff right now. It would be something like we want Nardi. Nardi will be back, so let's just throw him in the mix here. Let's say Rodriguez is back, Hudson is back, Funderburk is back, Meyer is back, and then we'll do like Eknis as a possible, Bachman as a possible, Perkins is a possible, and we'll go him like that. So I would say that these 5 guys right here are like guaranteed to be back in our bullpen this upcoming season, and then Eknis is a guy who like could be starting the year in the bullpen, could be starting the year in AAA. Bachman, same sort of deal with him. He only has 1 option year left heading into the next season, and then same with Perkins, only 1 option left. And he could be in the team, he could not. Mendoza, I would say, is definitely more of a, even though he has 2 options and just how he took a slide this year, and I just don't really love his ratings. Like, is he one of these guys who's like worse as a reliever? He is. He's one of these guys who's worse as a reliever compared to a starter. So maybe we do keep him on because he has 2 options. He's 22. So then let's just see like what somebody like, how many, we got 2 more. So let's shop Bender for a pitcher here. No trade value. Maybe I have to knock down the difficulty a bit because, I mean, we're just getting nothing. Like, how does this guy have 0 trade value? You're telling me there's not a single player, there's not a single team in baseball that wants a guy who had 25 innings with this type of numbers? That seems kind of goofy to me. I mean, if Garrett has no suitors, then we might have to... Okay, so he's got like a couple teams that are giving me like shit players. You know, the Blue Jays are trying to pass off Yariel Rodriguez's contract onto me. I'm not stupid enough to fall for that. The A's are trying to give me this guy who is intriguing, does have a really good slider-sinker combo, but he has no clue where it's going. So, like, he could give you starter because he's a 35 stamina, but, like, you don't want this control in the rotation. You really don't even want it in the bullpen, to be quite honest with you. And then the Angels are trying to throw together a bunch of random guys, like another guy who has even less of an idea of where it's going in Sandy Gastone, Veneziano, free agent signing, who he was on our system in 2025. Yeah, he started the year in the big league club or something, didn't he? Definitely not interested in him. Tuki Toussaint, who obviously is not somebody we're looking to pick up. Ethan Lindau is a no, and then Ian Anderson is $5 million. No, he's also a no. So, you know, is the trade difficulty on a bit too high of a rating? Maybe, but also at the same time, like you look at Braxton Garrett coming off a 2-WAR season, just like a mediocre league average starter. I mean, that does actually have value in real life. So I don't know. Maybe I am having the difficulty a bit too high, but right now it looks like we're not going to be able to trade him for really anything. But I also don't want to non-tender him either. And just to show you what Austin Hayes is just right off the bat asking for, he wants 4 years, $12.6 million. We would have had the vesting option at $7 million for a year, so he does want quite a bit more than that. If we talk him at a 1 year, he's probably not going to go down to something like $8 million. Yeah, no, he wants like a multi-year, double-digit million sort of contract. So I don't think we're going to be offering Austin Hayes a deal here. So we're going into this offseason where the lineup might look like something like this. We do have a possible logjam, but I think it just adds depth to our team. So Agustin Ramirez is going to be our catcher. I think he solidified himself as he's a good enough defensive player to play catcher for us. He had a good catcher array, he had a positive framing number. I think he has proven that he can handle that position, and then his bat at that position makes him one of the best catchers in the league, at least in my opinion. Back-to-back All-Star seasons. Graham Pauley has performed for us in back-to-back seasons at first base. I think he has earned the spot there at first base. He is our first baseman. Plus, he is very good defensively there. So, Graham Pauley, he is the first baseman. Second base, Brooks Lee, down the stretch there, he proved that he is our guy. He's the second baseman here in Miami. So he is locked in there. And then third and shortstop is where things get kind of interesting. We love Wilfredo Lara. I think that he is a very, very interesting player. He can add some pop to our lineup. His eye could even go up to 50. I kind of just want to give him some run here. He expects to be a starter. I just want to see what he can do as like an everyday starter for us. His ratings are skewed a bit better against lefties, but, you know, they're not a slouch against righties either. So I think that he's a little slightly better than Mauricio at third base. I mean, I would not be opposed to playing Mauricio at third base again. The thing is, Lara, if we look at his fielding ratings, actually put up a 1 ZR in 17 games, and then in 22 games, then in AAA, put up a 2 ZR at third base. Whereas Mauricio, at third base for us last season, put together a -2 ZR. Obviously, a much, much bigger sample size, but if we ran him back at third base, I would not be opposed to that. But we could possibly put him at a DH. The thing is, we want him to be part of the team, obviously. He's going to be a starter for us. It's just a matter of if he's a DH or if he's a third baseman. Or maybe Lara's the DH, or maybe, who knows? And now I do think that we're going to go into the season with Acosta as our shortstop. I think he is just the obvious option for us. His bat was down a bit last season, but I do think that his bat potential is a bit better than 87 WRC+, and then his defense last season showed us that it was improved, and he can hang and play shortstop at the big league level. So he is going to play there at least for one more season. And Starlin Caba, you can see here, his expectation as bench player, he's gone down a bit in his potential. His BABIP doesn't look as great. His gap power doesn't look as great. I think his ceiling here is that he is... Does OSA think he's, like, way better? OSA does think he's way better, but it's mainly because of the eye, it looks like. But OSA is also very low scouting accuracy. So, yeah. I think that his outlook here is going to be a big league player for us this upcoming season, but it's going to be as like a super utility, can give us elite defense at shortstop, second base, and also possibly spot us some center field here as well, because we'll play him in spring training at second and center field, get him some experience at those positions, and just be like a super utility speedster sort of player to come off the bench as a switch hitter, give us some possible value off the bench here. And that is what I'm looking for him to be this upcoming season. Center field, obviously, is going to be Derek Hill. He has earned that spot. He is coming off another good season for us. Also, NLDS MVP against the Braves. Obviously, a bit of a down from his 4-WAR season in the first year, but still a very good season overall for the veteran center fielder. And then in right field, obviously Kyle Tucker is penciled in there. That's obvious. We would like to see him put together a bit better of a season rather than just like another 2-WAR year, but maybe that's just what he is for us. But, at the very best, he is or at the very worst, he is still like a solidifying spot in our lineup, a guy who gets on base, a guy who adds a bat to our presence. So we're not upset with the signing to pick him up. And then, like I said, either Mauricio is DH or he's third base, and then maybe Laura's DH. And then we still have Davison De Los Santos, who we do like, put together 15 home runs, 19 home runs, and 445 plate appearances for us last season. So we do like his bat. He does have options, all 3 of them. He does expect to start, and he's still making the league minimum, only has 1 year of service time. So he's a possible trade option, possible just depth bat for us. I do think that we need some depth bats. Injuries are going to happen, so Davison De Los Santos not really somebody I'm looking to. I'm not exactly desperate to trade him, so I think he might go into the season being like our backup first baseman. Backup DH sort of player. And then the outfield is where we might go into the spot looking for a option for us. Getting a corner outfield bat. We could just see if Drew Gilbert can take the next step and give him some serious run in left field. He did get some run in right field last year when Tucker got hurt, but it wasn't really that impressive. He hasn't ever really been that impressive in his bench runs in the big leagues. But you can see here he does hit when he's in the minors. In AAA last season, he was tearing things up. So I think that he could be a player who could take the next step if you give him 500 ABs in left field next season. But do we want to commit to that being our plan? We could possibly, and then if we're still in the mix with this lineup heading into the trade deadline, then we could possibly look to acquire an Austin Hayes type next season as well. Or we could go into offseason this year and just see who's there and, in free agency be like, oh, this guy's too good to pass up. We'll bring this guy in to play left field. So we'll have to see how things shake out in the offseason, but Drew Gilbert could go into the year as our left fielder. We also have Griffin Conine, who is coming off a down season. I thought his bat was going to play a bit more than it did this year. Unfortunately, it did not. His glove did improve this year, but the bat is just not there. He's got the selfish personality class. He's almost 30 years old. So I think Griffin Conine is a guy who's kind of just on the chopping block at this point. He does still have some options, though, so he might be worth keeping around as just a depth piece for us, but I don't think we're going to be looking for him to be on the big league roster to start things off. We also have Gabriel Gonzalez, who we're still waiting for him to take that jump in BABIP, power, and eye. Probably going to throw him in the dev lab here this offseason and just see how he does with that. But, if he has a huge dev lab in the offseason, maybe we look to put him in left field. But right now, not looking like a guy who is much more than just a depth piece for us in AAA heading into next season. And then we also have Alek Thomas. Alek Thomas is also in the mix here. I don't think he's going to be a guy we start, but is absolutely an option to be like a bench outfielder for us. And right now he has no options, so that's probably where he's going to be penciled in, is like a bench outfielder for us who can give us some really good outfield defense, and then the bat theoretically is good enough to play and be like a decent fourth outfielder. So as it stands right now, this is probably how the lineup would shake out. Brooks Lee at second, Tucker in right, Paulie at first, Agustin at catching, hitting cleanup, Mauricio either DHing or playing third, Derek Hill, Wilfredo Lara, Gilbert in left hitting eighth, and then Max Acosta rounding things out. And I don't think that's a bad lineup. The thing is, though, we had a bad offense this year. We were not a good run scoring. I shouldn't say we had a bad offense. I think we had an unlucky offense. We had the best average in the National League, fourth in WAR. We got a ton of hits. We did not strike out. We put the ball in play, but we just could not. We even had 6 extra base hits. I think we need more pop and possibly some more OBP. We just need to figure out how to score more runs is the thing. So, we could go into next season with just this as our lineup, but is that really going to improve our offense, which is something that, if you look at it on paper, I feel like it does need improving, especially since we're losing Austin Hayes, who was big for us down the stretch. And was probably a big reason why our extra base hits improved as the season went on. into the tied for 6th category. So I do think that we are going to be looking for a potential left fielder and pushing Gilbert to the bench. Does that make it to where maybe Kaba doesn't end up being in the big league roster? Who knows? But maybe Thomas gets DFA'd. Who knows? But we will see how things shake out this offseason. But left field is definitely the main spot offensively that we are looking to improve. I should also mention that Joe Mack, I think, has some serious trade value. He's a high leader, high work ethic, good offensive catcher who, like, if we were in a situation if we were heading into 2025 and Joe Mack was our opening day catcher instead of Agustin Ramirez, we might be looking to trade Agustin Ramirez right now instead of Joe Mack. But I think just how the cards shook out, Agustin Ramirez has solidified himself as the catcher. Joe Mack is somebody who really can't catch defensively quite yet, the negative framing rating. Now, we could look to bring him back for another season and just kind of do it again, give him another chance as a backup catcher. He does expect to start, but he's making league minimum. We could throw him in the dev lab in the second set of dev lab runs and see if we can improve his defense like we did with Agustin Ramirez last season. And just have like a league minimum catcher who can give us a good bat coming off the bench. That's definitely an option. Or we could look to cash in on his trade value while he is probably his most valuable and see if we could get something actually useful for us heading into this next season. So that's an option for us. We'll have to see how things go. And then also I should mention that Connor Norby is somebody that we have soured on. The thing about him, though, is if we trade him now, we're trading him at his lowest value. But then also you look at him and you go, what really is his spot here? Like, he's never going to be a good second baseman for us. His arm is not good enough to be a third baseman. I guess he's like a DH first baseman sort of player. He would be a bad left fielder here in Miami. So, like, do we trade him at his lowest value? Or do we maybe have him play first base in the spring training and see if he can give us some depth, because he still is making league minimum. He still has options. So it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to just keep him around for another season as a depth player for us. And that's probably what I'm leaning towards doing. And I think that's really all we have to go over here for guys that are currently on the big league roster. Liam Hicks is somebody we're probably looking to move on from, just kind of wave and DFA him and bring in like a more defensive catcher to be our third catcher on the 40-man. Just because I think that that's something we need. So we're going to go ahead right now and just go ahead and waive and DFA Liam Hicks. You served us well for that one weird season where you had a triple-digit WRC plus, but no longer a member of the Florida Marlins. I gotta get back in the habit of saying Florida Marlins. Alrighty, so we have gone ahead and selected our 10 players to put in the development lab for the first run through. The first guy we're going for is Gabriel Gonzalez, trying to improve his bat speed. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. We want him to take a big jump. We want him to go into this BABIP, this power, and this eye potential. So let's try to give him a little bit of boost here and try to get this power up, because we want him to be a power hitter. The next guy on the list is Drew Gilbert, trying to tap into his gap power. He's another guy who has a bit of BABIP, gap, power, and eye to tap into. And then I just feel like, I just chose one that was easier than BABIP and power, because BABIP and power are both very hard training. Gap power is medium, so we just threw gap power in there rather than eye. So to see if we can be a bit better of a corner outfielder bat for us, rather than just like a slap hitter sort of player. So trying to tap into the gap power with Drew Gilbert. Max Acosta trying to tap into some plate discipline here. He's already got a decent BABIP. He's already got a 50 gap power. And then I just decided to go for the eye with him instead of the power, because I just feel like that would suit his play style more than the power would. And also, we're trying to walk a bit more this season, so it just kind of fits with what our strategy is going into this season, which you will see. We're throwing play discipline on quite a few guys. Wilfredo Lara as well, 3 to 4 months for that. It is basically his only skill that needs improving. The power is already 50 with a 55 potential, so I decided to go with the eye to once again try to align with our vision of trying to get on base more this season. And then Brooks Lee. We want him to tap into his eye potential. He's still only 45. He did improve a bit this past season. Down the stretch, he was on fire. We look at his splits. July, August, September, October, just tore it up. He even was actually good in the postseason for us, one of the few players who actually was. But we still would like to see the improvement keep happening for him. And if he can be like a really, really good leadoff hitter for us with some really good eye, that would be fantastic. And then we go with Starlin Caba, trying to improve the quality of contact, going with his BABIP. He already has a decent eye. OSA thinks that his eye is already, his potential is way better than it currently is. I just feel like if he gets already with us a 50 eye and he gets the BABIP up a bit, you know, that speed profile with the eye and the BABIP would play a lot more than power would, for example. We could possibly go gap power, but we decided to go with, I mean, honestly, now that I'm looking at it, we might go gap power. We might go gap power for him. So yeah, let's do that. Let's take him off for that and then put him on for gap power here, which you could see is only a medium as opposed to a hard for quality of contact. So we're going to go for gap power here and see if he could tap into that with the speed. He's already got the avoid K. He's already got the eye. See if he can get some doubles action going for Starlin Caba. Use the speed profile. So then we move on to, where did we leave off? I guess he was here. So now we're going on to the pitchers that we picked in Josh Eknes, trying to improve his pitch movement. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. He is a fastball, slider, curveball guy. He still needs to develop this potential. But if we could just get this movement up to be better, that would make me feel much better about his outlook as a guy who only has 45 control. So we're trying to tap into that movement here, make him a valuable member of our bullpen this upcoming season. And we also have Yuri Perez, who we're just throwing on as like a Hail Mary endurance training. He already has 35, but if we could possibly get a boost to that, to get it back up to 40, maybe even 45, that would be fantastic. I already think he is a very, very good pitcher. We could have possibly gone through with the control. I mean, now that I'm like talking it out loud, it does seem like maybe it's more sensible to go for like a control boost than it would for a stamina boost, which is just such a Hail Mary. So I think we're going to do that. You know, his stamina is at 35. We are running the risk that like it's going to go down again. But if it does, I would prefer him to just be like a guy who not only has these 4 really good pitches, but he also has the stuff he could tap into, and then maybe just have like elite control to go with it. So if we can tap into some of that control potential, we're going to try to do that. Only a medium difficulty, so improve control. That's what we're going with Perez. And then the other 2 guys we threw on the list is a Shedry Vargas, who was last season's Southern League MVP with the Pensacola Blue Wahoos after what was it, a season ago in 2025, it was Wilfredo Lara, and now this past season, it was this man, who we are trying to tap into some eye here, get this eye up to the potential, possibly, that his gap power, and BABIP is. Even getting this up to 50 potential could be a huge thing for us, because like I keep saying, we're trying to get on base more. This guy's very one clear downside to his bat, if all this develops, is that his eye is going to be below league average. So if we can get that a bit better, suddenly we're feeling a bit better about him as a player. We already like him a lot, but if we can get the eye up, that would be fantastic. And then the last player we threw on was Dylan Head, who is potentially a Derek Hill replacement once we lose him, either this upcoming season or after next season, or whenever it is. Dylan Head could possibly be our center field replacement. He is coming off a season where he was in rookie ball to start the year, was really good. Way too old to be in rookie ball, though, but then went to high A, was really good there, ended the season in double A. We're probably going to start him in double A. Yeah, he's going to start in double A. Don't know why he's in high A right now. Do we have him locked? We do indeed. So he's going to start the year in double A. He could work his way up to the big leagues fairly quickly, and we are trying to improve his gap power. He has this 80 grade speed profile with the 75 stealing ability. He's already got 70 range. His BABIP potential is already quite good. It's already 50 current. And then his gap power, if we could just tap into getting some like elite BABIP, elite gap power, I think that would go crazy with this speed. So Dylan Head, possible Derek Hill replacement down the line, trying to work him in the lab here as he develops and give him a boost to his development this offseason. So I think we're going to go ahead and offer Brooks Lee this team-friendly extension. 8 years. It's really just 7 years with an 8th year as a team option, $1.3 million buyout. Now, Brooks Lee is a player who, if he develops, and he's on track to, is going to be like a cornerstone piece for us. Down the stretch last year, he was probably our best hitter on our team, or one of our best hitters. We think this guy is going to be like our 1 or 2 hitter for many, many years to come. He's 25, almost 26 years old. Switch hitting, plays an elite second base defense. He has 1 more year of league minimum that we would give him for this upcoming season, more than league minimum, so we would be losing out on that. But then the trade-off is that we're possibly going to be getting very, very team-friendly numbers here in these free agent years. So he has this upcoming year at the minimum, which we would pay him more than minimum, obviously, 3 years of arbitration, and then we're buying out 4 free agency years, possibly 3 guaranteed, 4th is a possible through his age 33 season. I just think this is a no-brainer for a small market club. This is just what you have to do if you want to keep players like this at your team. This is very team-friendly in my mind, so we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to submit this, give Brooks Lee this offer, and hopefully he accepts that 8-year, $73.24 million deal. And then Mr. Agustin Ramirez here, I mean, he already wants a pretty damn ridiculous deal. Like, he was up to 8 years to start. It was basically the same thing. I mean, the thing about him is I'm not sure how he's going to age. He's a catcher. You know, do we think this defense is going to hold up through his like early 30s? Maybe, maybe not. So my worry is that if we give him a big deal like this, one, it's going to be like crippling to our team building abilities, because it's going to be a good chunk of change here. Now, obviously, we would try to talk him down a bunch on these numbers, but my worry is that, you know, he gets like 3-4 years into this thing, and he just becomes completely unplayable as a catcher, and he ends up having to be a first baseman or a DH, which then, you know, forces us into another situation where who is going to be losing out on a roster spot because Agustin Ramirez can't catch anymore? And then is his bat going to be good enough to not be a catcher? Because as I've said last offseason, his bat looks really good because he's a catcher. But if you move this bat to first base or to DH, suddenly it's like, you know, he's good, but is he a $22 million a year player? Probably not. And you can see here he already is up to $8.8 million for his first arbitration year, which would be 2028, and then 13.9 and 17.7. So we only have him locked in for 4 more years of team control here. I want to commit to having this guy because it's obviously more fun it's more fun to have guys around for more years than it is to just constantly be running things like a very tight ship. But you know, you do have to do that here in Miami because we're not going to have the biggest budget really ever. So I think we are just kind of going to let him have another year of minimum here. And at the very least, like, maybe we buy out arbitration. But we also might just be like, hey, man, we get you for 1 more year, then we give you like $8 million through arbitration, and then maybe we trade you. I don't know. We'll have to see how things shake out, but I don't think we're going to be giving him that extension, especially since we just gave Brooks Lee that other extension, because I think he is long-term the more valuable player, at least in my mind, because he plays that elite second base defense. I just think that he's going to age better and be a better player. So Brooks Lee, we're going to commit to him for that deal, assuming he accepts it, and then hopefully Agustin Ramirez is productive for the years that he's here. Alrighty, folks, we are here after all the awards have been announced. So as you can see on your screen, Shohei Ohtani has once again won the National League MVP because he put together a season, again, where he was even better than he was in 2025, where he put together basically a 4-WAR if you round up for his hitting and his pitching season, so an 8-WAR combined if you round up and then add them together. And then this year he put together a 4.9 pitching and a 5.8 hitting. So, or no, the other way around. 4.9 hitting, 5.8 pitching, led the league in FIP, minus ERA, WHIP, led the league in home runs, hitting. I mean, what can you say? He's Shohei frickin' Ohtani. You got Juan Soto behind him, who put together a 174 WRC plus and a 410 or 420 WOBA. a 1018 OPS, led the league in OBP, all those categories listed, had the most runs scored. Doesn't even come close to having the amount of votes that Shohei Ohtani does because he's Shohei Ohtani. But I should mention that we actually had Michael King get some MVP votes. Not very many, but he is on the list, so we will take that. On the American League side of things, it was the duel between the two shortstops, Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr. Gunnar Henderson ekes this one out this year, and he gets the MVP. I shouldn't say eked it out. He pretty handily won the MVP award, as he gets a league-leading 7.9 WAR, 162 WRC+, plus, and a 403 WOBA, leading the American League. Looks like not so much a great defensive shortstop. Should probably move to second or third base at this point in his career, but you know, the Orioles will probably still just keep trotting him at shortstop if I had to guess. And they also just extended him. So the Orioles are indeed extending Gunnar. They do have an opt-out after 2 seasons, but then it kicks, if he does opt in, he has $37.5 million pretty much guaranteed for the 3 seasons after that, but still not very long term because they're not committing to him into his 30s. Also, Anthony Santander finishing 4th place with the Blue Jays. He had 40 home runs and 109 ribbies, which both led the American League. And then I also saw Gabriel Arias on this list put together a 5-WAR season for the Cleveland Guardians, playing an elite second base, put together an 11 ZR, which was the same ZR that Brooks Lee had for us. And then, you know, ideally, this is the type of stuff that Brooks Lee could be doing for us. So who knows? Maybe next year Brooks Lee, in his age 26 season, I believe Brooks Lee is primed to have a Gabriel Arias type year. And then Shohei Ohtani, not only does he get MVP, but he gets Cy Young as well, and he's the reason why Michael King does not get Cy Young. The runner-up to the Cy Young is Michael King. Shohei Ohtani, we've already seen his stats. Let's take a look at Michael King once again. Puts together a 5-WAR season. He's in any other universe where Shohei Ohtani doesn't pitch and hit an elite level, and Michael King is your 2026 Cy Young winner. But unfortunately, he is in the same league as Shohei Ohtani. Well, on the American League side of things, Clark Schmidt wins the Cy Young for the New York Yankees, puts together a 5-WAR season, leads the American League in WAR, FIP-, and ERA. Very good year for the 30-year-old out of the University of South Carolina. He's a Gamecock, not a Trojan, damn it. This one was a tight race, though. You had Garrett Crochet, the pig, right behind him, putting together a 5-WAR season. That's back-to-back 5-WAR seasons for the Boston Red Sox left-hander, who, is this the real-life deal, or is this something they gave to him in this? Alright, so I guess the real-life deal is in this game. I don't hate that. I just wasn't sure what deals were in the game and what deals were not. Garrett Crochet's apparently is in the game. Now I'm curious, is Vladdy's deal in the game? No, it's not, because he signed a 5-year extension in July in this universe. So he is extended, but it's not quite the same deal. And then I should also mention that the AFL Premier Player was announced as well. It was not one of our players this year. It was Alex Stone of the Toronto Blue Jays organization, who looks just like a whatever player. Sure, he had a good year in the Arizona Fall League, but I mean, nothing about this guy stands out to me as something that's ever going to be any good. Peyton Eels did get some votes here. He was on here on the same team as Alex Stone. He put together I guess an okay draft league season. He was good for us in AAA once again this year. We love his bat. He probably gets a chance in the big leagues at some point this season. It's just, where does he play defensively? The outfield range is down to 45. That makes him unplayable in the outfield here. And then the infield range is nothing special either. So we love this guy's bat, but he just doesn't really have a position. And he's 5'5", so like technically he could play first base, but do you want a 5'5" guy playing first base? I don't think that really matters at all in this game, because height doesn't really factor into anything other than just seeing it on the page. Moving on to the other awards, the National League Rookie of the Year was Edwin Arroyo of the San Diego Padres. Put together a 3.8 WAR season. Looks like most of it was defensively. He is a good, 15.5 ZR at shortstop for the rookie shortstop out of Puerto Rico. He was a Rule 5 pick. So yeah, this was the guy that the Reds just left off their 40-man for whatever reason. Padres, some AI on AI crime. This is the type of guy who, he's 22 when he's on the Rule 5. I'm not going to take somebody like that. But if the AI wants to poach on the other AI, so what? Well, on the American League side of things, you have Xavier Isaac, who is a first base prospect for the Tampa Bay Rays. I remember when this guy got taken by them in the first round, it was a surprise because this was not somebody that was on really anybody's board. I know in real life he's actually been raking quite a bit in the minor leagues, and as somebody who's more highly touted now in real life, but I remember at the time of him being taken, it was like, whoa, who's this guy off the board that the Rays are taking? So lefty power hitter. You can see here, put together a 3-WAR season, 133 WRC plus, 30 home runs, 29 doubles. Solid year for the rookie. And then I believe this was the case for us last year as well, but once again, we had no Silver Slugger winners here in the National League. And then the reliever of the year in the National League was Jeff Hoffman, now with the New York Mets. Looks like he got hurt at the very end of the season, but still was good enough to win the award. It looks like he signed a 2-year deal this past offseason. Or no, they traded for him. They traded for him in the first offseason from Toronto. So he's still on that Toronto deal. But now with the New York Mets closing games out for them. And then he just barely beat out Manuel Castro with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who apparently is listed as a starter now, but was mainly a reliever for them this past season as a Rule 5 pick from San Diego. So San Diego poaches on Cincinnati to take their Gold Glove shortstop, and then Arizona poaches on San Diego to take their runner-up and the reliever of the year, and a guy who looks like he could give them some starter innings as well. Well, in the American League, it is Duran, who I believe won it last year. Yes, that's back-to-back AL reliever of the years for Duran. Pretty self-explanatory. He is absolutely absurd. So we are here at the free agency filings. It's December 2nd. We have a little over $33 million, like a pinch over $33 million to spend at free agency. And there really isn't anybody here that jumps off the page to me as somebody we should be going out there desperately to pick up. Unfortunately, I kind of goofed it with Austin Hayes because we had to make room on the 40-man to bring guys off the 40-man, and Hayes was an expiring free agent anyways, so we kind of waived and DFA'd him, and now he's pissed at us, so he won't negotiate with us. So I wasn't going to bring him back anyways, but even he's probably the most intriguing guy here, to be honest. Well, I should say Luis Robert is intriguing. He has no compensation. The thing about him, though, he hasn't really ever... I guess he had a good year last year in Chicago, then got traded to the Yankees at the deadline, did not really do well for them. And I would be interested in giving him a 1 or 2 year deal, but he wants hey, lock me into your team until I'm 39 years old sort of deal. So not really what I'm looking to do with him. I would be possibly interested in doing something like this, but he's just not going to accept that. If I give him $25 million over 2 years... Oh, okay. Okay. Now, that would knock out a good chunk of our change, but I mean, we don't really plan on going after really too much else that's actually expensive, so we could go ahead and offer this. 2 years, $25 million for Luis Robert. He could come in, obviously as a center fielder, but he could absolutely play a very good left field for us. He played an okay center last year. Just kind of treading water, but I think he could be an elite left fielder. You put him there in spring training, get some time. We have an outfield suddenly of Derek Hill, Luis Robert, and Kyle Tucker. I think that's doable. I think that's absolutely something that we could go for. And he, if he plays to his potential here, he's gap power, BABIP power, all 55. That's intriguing to me. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to offer this 2-year, $25 million deal. We'll see if we get outbidded, but we're going to go ahead and do that. Folks, it is a done deal. Luis Robert Jr. is now locked into being a Miami or a Florida Marlin for 2 seasons at $25 million AAV. He's going to come in, be our left fielder here. So we're going to make him a left fielder. He drops down to 50, but we're gonna be playing him in left field here and see how he does for us. Hopefully he can tap into some Luis Robert Jr. potential, the potential that MLB TV thinks he has. Another little check-in here, folks. It is January 24th, and we have made one single international free agent signing. That is our whole class this year in the international amateurs. Mark Antonio Plone, something like this. Right-handed bat, right-handed throw, Venezuelan Italian, 17 years old. I mean, look at the bat. Just look at the bat. It's self-explanatory. El Poco here. Going to be a guy, if this develops, he's a generational hitter. Obviously, very, very far away from the big leagues. We'll have to see how he develops here as we keep tabs on him as a prospect. Sign him for that $5.7 million bonus. That's the entirety of our cap for the IFAs, so he's the only one we signed this offseason. Alrighty, folks. We have reached the end of spring training. The 2027 fish have been set for the season. Let's do a little quick run-through of what happened in this offseason. Newsflash, it wasn't very much. It was not a very active offseason for us. I didn't feel like we had to make too many moves, but we did make a couple that I feel like are going to help us long-term and in the short term as well. One of the first things we actually did was we claimed Brooks Baldwin off of waivers from the Cincinnati Reds. You could see here he got waived by Chicago. He got waived by Chicago and claimed by Cincinnati on the 11th of November. And then the very next day, the Reds then tried to pass him through waivers. And then we were like, this guy's got two options. Why not? So we claimed him. He's still a league minimum player. Doesn't have a full year of major league service. His bat is interesting enough as like an infield option for us. He can play some corner outfield as well. Maybe not so much for our stadium, but there is that in his bag. So Brooks Baldwin is down in AAA Jacksonville for us to start the season. Then we did the Brooks Lee extension, 8 years, $73.24 million. Brooks Lee signed through the 2034 season. There's the full look at it. Very, very team-friendly, especially if he turns into the player that we think he is. You can see it's all green now, baby. So Brooks Lee primed for a big season, I feel like, here with the fish, rocking the teal. Things are feeling good in Brooks Lee land. And then we did end up bringing back Braxton Garrett and all those guys that we thought we were going to trade because they just didn't have trade value. And I was just like, hey, we might as well bring him back for 1 year. So Braxton Garrett is back for a season. We also brought back Perdomo, all those guys, or was it, no, Peguero, not Perdomo. All those guys that we thought we were going to trade, they are back for another season. And then the only off-season, like, actual free agent move we made was Luis Robert Jr. signed to a 2-year deal at $50 million. That's $25 million per year. He is going to be our left fielder this season and next season. We'll see how it goes. I thought it was a decent deal. He's got the 55 power, the 55 gap, and the 55 BABIP, and his power could even possibly go up to 60 according to our scout. So hopefully we can tap into some of that potential that Luis Robert has flashed in his career before. Hasn't really panned out to be quite that player, but he's going to come here as a Cuban in Miami and hopefully pop off for the fish this season and next season. And then unfortunately, to make room on the 40-man, we did up having to DFA Alek Thomas, and he was immediately claimed by the Chicago White Sox. As you can see, their roster still all sort of jambled and not in a great spot. So Alek Thomas, maybe he gets a chance to start over there in Chicago. We shall keep tabs on him. He is on the former Fish shortlist, so we will be getting updates on him throughout the season. And then we did end up having to add 2 of our top prospects to the 40-man roster to avoid them being in the Rule 5 draft. The first one being Dylan Head, who is our possible Derek Hill replacement down the line once he leaves the team. He's going to be starting the year in AA Pensacola. Barely got any time there last season. We want to see what he can do there. He's currently the number 63 prospect in baseball. And then we also added a Shedry Vargas to the 40-man. He's going to start the year in AAA Jacksonville. You can see he's looking like a mighty, mighty fine prospect. Our scat's much higher on than OSA, not even ranked when it comes to OSA, but he's coming off a 4-WAR season down in AA Pensacola. He won the MVP. As you can see here, the Platinum Stick at second base and the MVP. That's at 2025 was Alfredo Lara, 2026 was a Shedry Vargas, and now this guy's looking like he's possibly going to be on our team this season. Right now, he's going to start the year in AAA, but he could very well find himself on the big league roster. I didn't want to have him be like a backup infielder, because right now our backup infielder is just a really good shortstop, and like he has a 45 shortstop, so like we could possibly have him as like a backup infielder. And like Brooks Lee comes in as like mainly our backup shortstop whenever we need a guy to play there. He'll shift over to short, but I just thought it wasn't really useful for him to come in and just start the year as like a backup, barely playing any time. It wasn't like I was going to be playing him like every third day in a certain position. He just didn't really have an open spot. So we're starting him in AAA. He's going to play every day down there, hopefully rake, and hopefully just force our hand and be like, hey man, I'm knocking on the door, I'm Roman Anthony here, and I'm ready to come up to the big leagues. And then the only other free agent signing we made this season was Miguel Palma, who is a catching prospect. Not really a prospect, he's a 25-year-old catcher, was with the Houston Astros organization the past couple seasons, probably his entire career, to be honest. Yeah, as an international free agent for the Astros in 2018, he, for whatever reason, they did not bring him back. 60 framing, 60 blocking catcher with high leader, work ethic, and baseball IQ. Decent enough bat as like a backup catcher sort of guy. Going to start the year in AAA, but if we want a good backup catcher defensively, he's going to be our guy. He's on the 40-man. He's ready to go. But now jumping into actually who's on this 26-man roster here to start off the 2027 campaign on the pitching side of things. Rotation looking pretty similar. Michael King, Sean Manaea, Ryan Weathers, and then Yuri Perez back in the rotation this season with his 35 stamina. Hopefully he's going to be able to put together a good starter season for us. Still, by the way, not even 24 years old yet. He will be in a couple days, but still very, very young as a player. And then Christian Scott is going to be our fifth starter starting the season here. The University of Florida man coming in there, getting a start here, or getting the opportunity in the rotation here to start the season. Hopefully he can tap into some of these potential ratings he's got and turn into a really, really good starter for us. And then in the bullpen, we're going to be rocking the double-barrel stopper of Braxton Garrett and Max Meyer, both in the pen. Hopefully they turn into like give us a shit ton of innings guys and just carry our bullpen. And then, if somebody gets hurt, they're possible options to go into the rotation. And then the rest of the bullpen is basically the same thing we ran last year. Andrew Nardi, Manuel Rodriguez, Cody Funderburk, Brian Hudson, Elvis Peguero, and Anthony Bender. They're all back. They're all here, ready to go. Also, I should probably put Bender on use more often because I do want to use him more often. The rest of these guys will just have normal usage. Then on the hitting side of things, you have... Let's take a look at right-handed pitching. Lined up against right-handed pitching, you've got Brooks Lee leading things off, Kyle Tucker in right, Agustin Ramirez catching, Mauricio DHing, Luis Robert in left, Graham Pauley at first, dropped down to the 6th spot because we've improved our lineup. Wilfredo Lara playing third base and hitting 7th, Derek Hill center field, and Acosta playing shortstop and hitting 9th. And then against lefties, the only change is that Pauley goes to the bench. As usual, he's the guy we platoon. He can kind of hack it against lefties, but we just prefer to platoon him, especially since we have somebody like Davison De Los Santos, who's got that 60 pop, and we want his bat in the lineup as much as we possibly can get him in the lineup. So he comes in to play first base against lefties, and that's really the only change. The other bench players are Joe Mack is the backup catcher, De Los Santos and Pauley swap at first base. Drew Gilbert is the backup outfielder. Luis Robert will get some center field opportunities here, but then Gilbert is the secondary backup center fielder. And Orlando Arcia was somebody we had to panic sign in spring training because Starlin Caba got hurt in spring training. He fractured his foot. He's going to be out for 2 weeks. Once he's back, he'll get a little rehab stint and then come back to the big leagues, and then we'll decide what to do with Orlando Arcia. But for now, he is our main backup infielder because Caba just did not really get to do much in spring training. Did not even really get to play any second base either. Played a little bit of center field and then got hurt. So Orlando Arcia, not exactly the most exciting bat. He's got 50 power. He's got a really good personality class, though. You know, he's a good veteran to have on the team here, be like a backup infielder for us. You could see here he's been horrible, the offensive player the past 2 seasons. But if you look at his career fielding stats here, 8 ZR at shortstop both those seasons as their full-time shortstop. So I figured, hey, you know, we'll play him at shortstop. We'll play him as the backup infielder. When Caba comes back, he'll probably not yet. Doesn't have any options, so we'll probably just be like, hey, man, go get waived and DFA'd. If you don't want to go down to AAA, then just go find a different team. Oh, and then I should also mention that Dax Fulton is starting the year on the IL as well. He got hurt towards the end of last season down in Jacksonville. Never pitched in the big leagues for us. Or no, he didn't get hurt in the end of last season, in June. Beginning of June, he tore his labrum. He's still rehabbing that, so he's, you know, quite a while away from getting back to the big leagues here and getting back into the order, or in the mix, I should say, because he's not going to be in the rotation, I'll tell you that much. He's definitely a reliever the way we're looking at him from this point on. And then Tucker Biven also still recovering from his elbow ligament reconstruction surgery. Still has 3 months left on that. He got hurt around the same time as Dax Fulton last season. And then just taking a look at the preseason predictions here. In the American League side of things, the Baltimore Orioles are projected to run away with the American League East, 98 wins. The Red Sox, 88 behind them. Everybody projected at least 80 wins, but the Orioles still predicted to be the best team in that division. The American League Central, you have the Minnesota Twins winning 93 games, projected to win that over the Detroit Tigers and Cleveland Guardians in the mix in the Central. Then in the West, you've got the Rangers projected to win by a decent margin over the Seattle Mariners, and then the A's, just kind of like a 77-win whatever team. Angels, Astros. By the way, at some point, I will probably go in and like manually edit them to be in Las Vegas, just because, you know, it just makes sense. Maybe next offseason I'll go in and I'll go into their team settings and just, this is obviously our team settings, but, you know, next year I'll go into their team settings, manually make them, or I can just do it like, yeah, here we go. Finally, we get to the page. I'll go into their team settings, make them the Las Vegas Athletics. I'll probably figure out how to make their ballpark something that's like, you know, not Sutter Health Park, and I'll just make it to where they're playing in Vegas next season. But this is going to be the last year where they're playing in Sacramento with no official team name. Or city name, rather. And then on the National League side of things, they project the National League East to be a bit of a beating up on each other division. The Mets, Braves, and Marlins all competing here. The Mets with 87 wins prediction, Braves with 86, and us with 81. They expect us to be at exactly 500. They didn't expect us to be good last season either. They expected us to be below 500, I believe. And then we came out and won 96 games. Then we were outperforming our Pythagorean a bit, but we were like still projected to win like 91 with our Pythagorean. So it wasn't like we were a slouch team last year, and I feel like we're better on paper. So hopefully we can go into this season and prove the doubters wrong once again and top this 81 win projection here. And then in the Central Division, you've got a very, very tight division here. I mean, even the Pirates at 77 wins in last place isn't that too far off. They were in second place last season in the Central, but the Reds, Brewers, and Cubs, 88, 87, and 86 wins respectively in the top 3 spots. That's just a crapshoot division. It always is. The Centrals always are. And then the National League West, you've got the Dodgers projected to win 98 games, 18 games in front of the Colorado Rockies. Wow. D-backs, Giants, Padres, all falling off, and they expect the Rockies to be the second best team in that division. I've just got to see what they're rocking here. In the staff, they've got Chris Paddock, who put together a decent season in Seattle last year. Slade Ciccone, who was in AAA last year with the, why am I blanking on who this is? Columbus Clippers. And then Jake Irvin, who I guess was with them last year doing nothing. They picked up Randy Vasquez as a Rule 5 pick. Or no, he was an Atlanta Rule 5 pick. Oh no, they got him from Atlanta, never mind. And then Anthony Molina. So the rotation still doesn't exactly look great. Wasn't this guy the one, he was like runner-up in like reliever of the year or something in 2025? Now he's in the rotation for them. And then the bullpen, bunch of guys I've never heard of. Who's this guy? I don't know. Who's this guy? I don't know. Looks like he has a crazy curveball, though. Carson Palmquist, I know who that is. Zach Penrod, he's a Red Sox farmhand. Looks like he could be a decent reliever. From Idaho, shout out Burns. Richard Lovelady, I know who that is. Penn Murphy, once again, shout out Burns. Chase Dolander in the bullpen, because I guess he hasn't really panned out for them. Kind of a disappointing outcome here for Chase Dolander, but looks like he could possibly be like a crazy stopper sort of guy. That's how I would use him if I was them. And then Kyle Freeland, just kind of hanging around on that horrible contract the last year of it, and just kind of throwing batting practice as a left-handed specialist. And then in their lineups, all right, they got some interesting bats here. They got Drew Romo up in the big leagues as that really good catcher. 5-WAR season last year for them. Chris Bryant is apparently still playing every day. He's wrecked. He put up back-to-back negative WAR seasons. Not what you want. Michael Toglia looks like he's a decent bat for them. They've got this Taipei guy who looks like he's a really good bat. They got him from, the Pittsburgh farmhand. Barely played for them last year, but looks like he could be a decent second baseman for them. Cole Carrig is up in the big leagues. I don't know why they're playing him every day at third base. I guess he's just the best they've got. Ezekiel Tovar, coming off a bad offensive season. His ratings shouldn't lead to bad offensive seasons, but he is coming off bad offensive seasons. And it looks like maybe even a bad defensive season. No, he had a good defensive. Maybe he just got hurt. Yeah, he barely played last year. He must have gotten hurt. He had a bone bruise, yeah. So he got hurt last season. They've got Mickey Moniak, who I believe he's been there since the start of this. He's still there. Brenton Doyle's in center field. Back-to-back 3-WAR seasons for him in center. And then they picked up Andy Pages in a trade last offseason, it looks like. And, this offseason. Yeah, like right after last season ended. So this offseason, put up 2 decent seasons as a bench player in LA, and now he's starting every day in right field in Colorado. Don't really know how the 50 range is going to go in left field in Colorado, but if I had to guess, probably pretty poorly. But so the Sim thinks that they're going to be the second best team in the NL West. I was just curious because, they think the Colorado Rockies are going to be scrappy. I got to see what the hell's going on over there. Yasmani Grandal still kicking around at 38 years old. So for me, this is the next day. For you, this is a couple seconds later. I forgot to go over how the programs did. They were pretty lackluster, so I guess I just somehow forgot them in my brain, but there wasn't really too much happening in this. But the first set of programs, we had Gabriel Gonzalez improving his potential power and current power, both by less than 5. Both of them, I guess his power is up to 45 now. His BABIP's up to 52, so he's starting to improve a bit, maybe starting to be on his way to be a better player here. Also, Drew Gilbert improved his current gap by 5. If you take a look at his ratings, he has 50 gap. Now it was 45. Max Acosta had no improvement. Same with Wilfredo Lara. Brooks Lee did improve his eye by 5. So you look at this, he now has 50 eye. It's just green up and down the page here. And then he's got a little bit of the teal and the avoid K. Looking damn good. No improvement for Eknis. Eshedri Vargas did improve his eye by less than 5. So you look at his profile, he's got a 40 eye. I think it was 40. I'm not really sure, but it was improved by less than 5. So didn't really expect a huge increase there. Dylan Head did improve his gap by 5, so his gap is now 45. I don't know what it was before. I guess it was 40, but I've seen it sometimes where it says it goes up by 5 and it's still the same it was, but who knows. He's starting in AA, as we've talked about, and then no improvement for Perez or Caba. And then for the defensive round in the program. It was just no improvement across the board. You can see here Joe Mack, Vargas, Ramirez, Lara, Mauricio, Gonzalez, Eels, Simon, and Norby, all no improvement, but Brooks Lee did indeed barely improve his stealing and stealing aggressiveness by less than 5. So you could see I was trying to get this up into the 70s, but he improved by less than 5, so he still got 65 on both stealing ability and also base running, which obviously wasn't what we were trying to improve, but he will steal effectively, just not very aggressively. But here we are, ready for the 2027 season here in Miami. The rebranded Florida Marlins going back to the Teal, ready to rock and roll.